everyone. I'm back again. I'm frozen. So I think for a good part of the stream, I'll have a death I'll have a death grip on my coffee because I am just so cold. Partly because I'm sitting on the floor and so all the cold air just comes rushing in here. Hence the reason why I'm wearing the same sweater I was wearing yesterday. But that's because it is super warm and yeah. I need to be comfortable and warm. We are in a rare moment when the kittens are just over there. They're in the room, but they're sleeping for now. That could change in a second, though. Okay. For those of you who are just tuning in, this is not the All About Cats channel. No, this is. Hold on, I have to let go. This is. My name is Beth Wagner, and I am reading my dad's novel. One of many, actually. I'm doing it as a form of editing. I am currently on chapter 20 out of 27. So if you're just tuning in tonight, it's your first time tuning in, you'll probably want to go back and listen to past broadcasts so you can understand more about the story, except for a couple of streams where there's a kitten apocalypse. It just happened. or when or like last night when the phone rang because on Twitch, I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry, Twitch. I really, really have to apologize to you guys. But there was like the phone. I use the phone for streaming on Twitch, and so I can simulcast. And the phone rang, so that happened, and then I had to start the stream up again, and life happened basically. Um, yeah, but for the most part, I do read stories, and I'm on chapter 20 of the story. So I can do live editing, which also means that once I figure out where I put my pen, I will I will also be doing editing while I'm reading the story. I will theoretically be doing editing while I read the story. That only matters if I can find the pen that I okay. I had a pen. Maybe this will be my drama for tonight's broadcast. Did she just lose her pen? Yes, she did. It's fine. There we go. All right. Yeah. So, because I'm just a little bit of housekeeping too. Because we have there's like there's 27 chapters. I'm almost done. I am going to be and tonight's Wednesday, so yeah, it actually works out fine. Um, I'll just be finishing up next week, which means I'll go into editing and stuff like that. Once I'm done the edits, I might just do a reread of what the story's gonna be like because it's gonna tell the same story, but it's gonna be very different. It's gonna be very, very different from like if you actually like the original story. Sorry, my brain. The original story that I'm reading right now will be very different once I'm done all of my structural editing because I'm gonna be adding in other things. For example, last night, there's one scene where originally Wellstar starts laughing about the thought of female uh, blacksmiths, and Brennan starts laughing with him. That's in the original story. Thinking about how foolish it is. Um, in the update, I discuss a bit about female blacksmiths and how they are really actually a thing, and they're not an all the time thing, but here's some examples as to what how this could how this would legitimately happen. So, but it's going to be an example of how things are being nuanced a little bit differently in order to balance the story out a bit more, um, play into more of the fantasy and less of the historical aspects of it. There will still be the some of the general aspects of it, but just a little, just tweaking it here and there, and also, like I said, building on characters. But I keep on complaining about this because I keep on complaining about the story, and I think it's part of it's because I really like this. I like the core concepts of the story. There's just so much of it that I just rubs me the wrong way, so I just need to fix it. Anyway, I babbled on long enough. That's my 6 minute babble. So without further ado, I present chapter 20 of The Sword and the Rose. Wellsor looked up at the chief priest. Well, priest, what have you to say for yourself? The man drew himself up. If I am to defend myself, I should at least know the charges. If you claim not to know, then perhaps the charge should merely be incompetence. But the chief was not so easily disconcerted. Or perhaps it merely means that I cannot read your mind, my lord. Wellsor took up a piece of paper from the table in front of him. One should not use fanatics in enterprises requiring confidentiality. Some of them will shout the justice of their cause to the skies once questioned. This is a statement from one Kelsor Hanbolian. He declares his pride in taking part in the plot to unseat the foul atheist Gwalsor. After a pause, he looked at the chief priest again. Am I a, am I then a foul atheist? Without giving him time to answer, Gwalsor picked up another group of papers. Once we knew who to speak to and which questions to ask, we were able to gather quite a group of statements. So don't think to protest about the actions of one man or even of a few. It would seem that the ranks of the priesthood are riddled with traitors. If you knew nothing of this, then you are an incompetent fool. If you knew of it and did nothing, you are abetting treason. If you knew of it and encouraged it, you are a traitor yourself, perilously near to a hanging. So which is it? I deny all these allegations. You tortured a few priests to make them say what you wish to hear, and now you intend to use this to bring me down because I spoke against some of your policies? Ah, yes, deny everything. Claim bias on the part of your accusers. Well, chief priest, I called you here to see what answer you would make to these charges. As yet, we are still inquiring into the matter. When we have finished our inquiries, you may well find yourself facing official charges. I would advise you not to attempt to leave the barony, not even for a pilgrimage of extreme piety, lest it be misunderstood. You may go. The chief priest left scowling. After he had gone, Malgus spoke. Well, what do you think? I think he was involved, up to his red robed neck. Having an unobtrusive have an unobtrusive keep watch kept have an unobtrusive watch kept on him. He may try to flee, believing we have more evidence than we do. No fear. He already watched serious close. He already watched seriously close. Maybe better he try flee. That show guilt. It would, Walter sighed. But would I however much I would like to stretch his neck, I fear to be not poli- politic to mm, polite to execute politic. Who not be politic to execute the chief priest. We might, however, force him to bear a good deal of the cost of putting down the rebellion. Melchethop's eyes gleamed. Good notion. Whatever happened, he still hate you? Ah, we'll both be watching each other from now on. And he'll know that I have an eye on him, and that might make him a little less ready to make trouble. Slablan Hanj looked Tostig in the eye. I'd take it kindly if you'd stay with me a little while longer. I may need your assistance. For how much longer? We've tramped all this way. Now we'll be camped while you be poking around in the underbrush. We'd be appreciating you snatching us out of the swamp from the Baron's army, and I'd be willing to stay with you for a while, for past time's sake. But that do start to wear thin after a bit. Sorry, I'm still getting over whatever this is. Hange continued to look him in the eye. I'd still take it kindly if you stay with me a little while longer. There was a look in his eye, a look that Tostig had seen before, just when a man was on the verge of going mad. There was no telling just what might set such a person off, and the older ones knew what a mad magician might be capable of. Best to humor him, at least until you could figure out a way to get away from him safely. He nodded. A little while longer, then. He walked back to tell Man and the others. Another trial was done, and Gwalthor was in bad humor. Why did that fool have to speak like that, Melga? He was a knight, but not a knight holder, and I'd only fined him for his part in the rebellion. But he had to defy me, claim I had no right to the barony, and all the rest of and all the rest of that trash. That done, I had no choice but to hang him. Why men do mad things, Lord? I not know. Just no, just not let your mercy overcome good sense. Not can forgive everyone, particular not people in arms against you. No, but I'm hoping to limit the death sentences to the knights and knight holders. For the common people, they were only following their lords. And their lord would have killed them if they hadn't followed. So it's not right that they should die. He considered for a moment. Of course, that will not hold for anyone who committed notorious and nefarious acts in the name of the rebellion and their lords. Malgathep smiled. I seriously relieved to hear it. I seriously relieved at that. I thought maybe you start to be too hearted. Too much soft heart. Oh my goodness. You start be much too soft hearted. Perhaps I am a little soft hearted. But the barony will need someone to till its fields in the spring. I can see though that the king was up against after the rebellion. How do you forgive this one when you need his support, but condemn the other because he has not as much to offer? And you must be seen as being ready to mete out punishment. You forgive some knight holders then? Those who I can find a reason to spare, I will spare. Marquian is dead though, and there must be someone to set an example. And I I do not mean some young fool who has the bad sense to speak out when being quiet would have been better. 2 days later, Horrell Dar Natagon was brought in. He'd been found hiding in a barn, attempting to make his way back to his holding. He went into prison to wait his trial. On the same day, news came from Dar Osinin, the Kindle Dar Ezrik and Vasik Dar Luthwell, Lowithal, had crossed into Warwick's territory, and that he thought best not to carry the pursuit farther. Ah, said Warwick. Dar Eswick's a third cousin to Warwick, so he may be well to get shelter there, if only for the fact it'll anger you, Lord. It does, but not to the point that I'll do anything foolish about it. I have to send him the usual demand that he turn over the fugitives, but I doubt anything will come of it. Slowly, affairs returned to normal in in Grandel Barony. Hoder dar Corolno and Nantis dar Yanel arrived at the castle 2 days after the fighting was done. They and their troops were put to work, stamping out the embers of the rebellion. Somebody had to occupy Dar Harelevant's hold, for instance, and send his knights back for possible trial, at the very least, to renew their oaths to Gwalsor. They must also similarly deal with the holds of Dar Hendav, Dar Luthwil, Lawithal, Dar Eswick, and Dar Nantagon. We'll need to be putting people in these places, Lord, Foray said. Yes, we will. Dar Harelevant had no sons, nor near relations who might have been given the holding. And in any case, I'd be leery of giving it to a man who might nourish anger in his heart over his death of his relative. We'll have to find a knight, one who owes us more than any other. Okay, but but okay. Earlier in the story, I'm catching a continuity error here, and I'm wondering if you catch it too. So Markian had no heirs. They don't say specifically no heirs. However, one would think that the barony would still fall to his sister, who would become the baroness, and then would have to have someone marry her in order to like maintain everything. It's a thing, it happens, and I'm just trying to like I think I got skipped or missed, possibly because I can see how he kind of wrote himself into a corner with her, but Haywen needs to be brought back here. See, editing on the fly. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Okay. We'll have to find a knight, one who owes us more than any other, to put in there. He might perhaps even marry Haywen, to ensure his right, but I hesitate to force such a fate on a man who has done nothing to me. Doran Antigon has a son, Raphael. He is a mere 3 summers old, my lord. What will you do there? Perhaps we put an older man there as a guardian on the boy's behalf until he comes of age. So long as the boy don't grow up to feel that he must avenge his father. If his education is handled right, he oughtn't to. But what do we do about Kerfaldar Orsowick and Matian Dar Nanthi Nanthi Nanathal? Oh boy. We were never sure of them. And now they send messages regarding their tardiness and asking if they should still send troops. Forth let out a snort. I'd wager they sent messages to Dar Irrelevant telling him they bean't quite ready to march, and they'd be letting him know as soon as they might. If they even said that much. Like as not, they put him off by not making decisions, waiting to see which way they ought to jump. Suppose we put their services in terms of 10 pounds of silver each, in lieu of military paid. We need the money to rebuild. Worse than we need another few troops of horse to feed here. They'll be that crossed for it. They'll be that cross for it, Lord. But Fora's smile showed us that he was not at all displeased with the notion. I suppose so, Gwalser said with a smile. But we'll note in our request that the money is necessary for rebuilding, for investigating the revolt, and for punishment for all who had a hand in it. I suspect we'll see the money shortly. Just so, my lord. Fora's smile was grim. Was it, though? I don't know. I question that. The chief priest was caught at the castle gates, dressed as a wandering tinker. He appeared before Gwalsor, unrepentant and as dignified as he ever could manage, given that he was not allowed to change clothing beforehand. You changed trades then? Don't mock me, young man. You're right, and I apologize. But you will recall that I had asked you to remain within this castle until the investigation of the role of the priests in the late rebellion was completed. My duties require me to travel occasionally. I do not deny that. However, I cannot but suspect the nature of these duties when you find it necessary to disguise yourself before leaving. I could not have gotten through the gate otherwise. You had forbidden me to leave, you recall? Oh, I had not forgotten that at all. But I cannot help wondering why you did not come to me with some evidence of your need to travel elsewhere and ask for special permission to leave. Would you have granted it? It's difficult to say now. If I thought the circumstances warranted it, then it is entirely possible that I might have allowed you to go, though under escort, of course. And if I had refused the escort, I'd have refused the permission. Father's boots and shirt sleeves, man. You're accused of assisting in rebellion. I would prefer to keep this in my court if I am able. If I if I could I could, if I wished, send you off to Ramnell Castle to be dealt with there, as attempting to unseat the person who the king particularly chosen to replace the a baron who had rebelled against him. I trust you understand the difference. Send me to Ramnell Castle if you wish, my lord baron. We might see who would come out for the best from that. Grawlstar straightened. No, I think not. Judging by your actions, which are not one of those of an innocent man, I find you guilty of abetting a rebellion, and I will therefore send you not to Ramnel Castle, but to my prison, until you pay a fine of 50 pounds of silver. 50 pounds of silver? That's outrageous, my Lord Baron. I protest. Grawlstar slapped a hand on the table. 55 pounds of silver. Another word, Master Priest, and it goes up to 60. You've tried my patience too long, and this is the end of it. Guards, see him out, and see him to the prison, and let the prison warders know that if this man escapes by any means, they will take his place. Yes, my Lord Baron. After the chief priest had been let out, Melga leaned close. Maybe you ought to do away with that one, Lord. As much as I'd like to, I think I best not. Men do things in the name of religion they'd not do for any other cause. If I stretch his neck, for years after, I'll have to be wary of zealots at any time there's a drought or plague, or some farmer's cow dies. Maybe our one make-believe tinker suffer. Maybe our make-believe tinker suffer some sort of accident? Walser frowned. Best not. In these troubled times, to have him die so conveniently for me would lead to rumors and speculations, which are even more difficult to fight than proven deeds. Let us just hope that raising his fine keeps him busy for a while and out of mischief. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, guys. Ah. Okay, I'm really, really sorry, Twitch. You guys get the brunt of everything. I'm so sorry. But then again, you guys are also a forgiving audience. I appreciate that. Someday I'll get a real camera for Twitch, and this won't be like that. Hmm. Best not. In these troubled times, to have him die so conveniently would lead to rumors and speculations which are even more difficult to fight than proven deeds. Let us just hope that raising his fine keeps him busy for a while and out of mischief. How much longer? Demanded Tostig. We've been lurking about here too long as it is. We be too near to Grandel Castle, and they be all fussed over that rebellion. Slavlin Hanj turned to look at him, bringing his head up and beginning a magical gesture. Just a little longer, my friend Tostig. Just a little longer. Tostig watched the hand, wondering what he might do if the mad old wizard tried to complete the gesture. Would he have time to do anything at all? Just a little longer then, he said, trying for a placating tone. Hange nodded his shaggy old head and dropped his hand. There was a brief flash of fire in the air where the hand had been. Tostig shuddered. The old stinker be getting madder and madder, and ever getting that heedless with his magic. Enough, said Gwalser suddenly. Enough of these bits of paper, lists of people who should or should not be hung, and all the reasons why. These papers will keep for a time. I just need to get out into the air. Jadal, go have my horse saddled. Yes, my Lord Baron. Boreas is looking up at him. I suppose you're right, my lord. We've been working at this a good tally of hours. I'll just finish up reading this, and then I'll go out myself. Would you like me to wait for you? No, don't be bothering. I'll just take a walk around the best battlements. Shortly afterwards, Malgathop came in. Baron not here? No, he's out riding. Is something amiss? Not sure, but there with the magic around. Magic I not like at all. Forth stood. You'll be wanting to go find the Baron? I think yes. Until more sure what happened, I won't be with Baron. I'll go with you. What you wish. Malchusep was clearly preoccupied. Wellsor rode through the woods, no goal in mind, save to forget for a little while the cares and troubles of the barony. Jadal rode behind, enjoying the day himself. This is better than sitting around waiting for his master to need him for something. Something caught Gwalsor's eye. For a moment, he was certain he'd seen a black dragon. Then the large form slipped away. No one in living memory had ever seen a live dragon, though they were depicted on hangings and tapestries of the castle. Many said that they existed only in the old stories, but some insisted they had once really roamed the land, and that they existed even now in some far off lands. He turned Pallas to go after the beast, and caught another glimpse of something dark moving away. Faintly and far off, he heard Jadal say something, but Gralsor's mind was on the dragon. On he rode, losing sight of it among the trees, now catching another glimpse of black to draw him on. Well, yes, the chapter ends here. Yes, I feel like there needs to be more here. I'm, yeah. Any rate, there you go. Okay, so that's it for chapter 20. Um, One of two things happens in this chapter. Both of them are pretty cool. So, what is that black thing that he's chasing in the forest? And why does Jadal seem so far off? We'll find out tomorrow night. And hopefully it is as uneventful, like not the story, but everything else is as uneventful as it was tonight. Because that was helpful. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Twitch, thanks as ever for putting up with me and crappy my crappy camera settings. I'll see if I can try and find a way to make you guys a little more stable and less able to be jostled, because that was just me trying to turn off something on my phone, because I am high tech here. Because there's so few people right now, I'm just going to be low tech until I can afford to get something better. But I do appreciate everybody who does tune in. It really does mean a lot to me. It helps me feel like I'm not just shouting into the void, and that there's somebody there who's like actually listening to the story. And hopefully, I mean, aside from everything else, I'm hoping that you're getting something out of the story as well. So until tomorrow night, I will talk to you all again really soon. Bye.